Welcome back to Unadvertised. I'm your host, Melina Lopez. Disclaimer: the information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. The content discussed will include sensitive topics such as sexual assault, self-harm, violence, and mental illness. Before we begin today's story, we first need a little context. For those of you who don't know, Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was responsible for a series of gruesome murders of 17 young men from 1988 until he was caught in Milwaukee on July 22, 1991. He was sentenced to 957 years in prison for his crimes, but only served 2 before he was killed by a fellow inmate, Christopher Schaefer, at the age of 34. Today we'll be learning about Preston's experience with Jeffrey Dahmer in the Army. In July of 1979, Jeffrey Dahmer was assigned to Preston's unit. From the beginning, Jeffrey was a very racist individual. He was in his room in the barracks, drinking gin and using racist insults. He often talked about how his father taught him that he was better than everybody else. On October 5, 1979, Preston re-enlisted for 4 more years in the Army. His platoon sergeant asked him to train Jeffrey, who was new to the unit. Preston had to do all the driving because Jeffrey was not licensed. The training was with a tank unit, and they were providing medical support. The last 3 or 4 days of the field exercise, their vehicle broke down and was towed to the train station, where they had to wait until the completion of the field exercise. During this 3 or 4 day period, Preston was isolated and alone with Jeffrey. Somewhere in that time frame, Preston was sexually assaulted, which included penetration. Preston believes that he was drugged because he lost time and he has memory gaps. Preston must have felt so ashamed because he had very little recollection of the event. On February 4th, 1980, Preston left his unit and was assigned to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Prior to this incident, Preston was an outstanding soldier, as his record showed. But his career began to spiral downward following the assault. He married in April of 1980, and his marital problems were just getting started. Many times, the military police, also known as MPs, were called to his quarters for domestic disputes with his wife. Preston left Fort Dix in March 1983, returned in March 1984, and was assigned to Fort Bliss, Texas in early 1985. He was promoted to staff sergeant a year later, but received a DUI off post and was reduced 1 grade. Preston was having problems that now he believed were a result of the sexual assault that occurred. In May 1986, Preston was discharged from the Army under honorable conditions. He was a very bitter individual because he loved the service and was angry that his career ended after 9 years. His marriage also had many issues, and his wife divorced him in 1988. He eventually lost contact with her. Preston lost contact with his sons as well, due to moving so frequently and not keeping in touch. After leaving the military, Preston's drinking increased, and then he received a second DUI in September 1986. Over the years, Preston suffered from rectal problems and eventually had to have surgery to correct his anal fistulas and occurring hemorrhoids. Preston blamed himself for all the terrible things that Jeffrey Dahmer did to another victim that he knew. As we reflect on Preston's story, we must remember the victims of Jeffrey Dahmer and the countless lives that were altered by his insidious actions. The trauma that left psychological scars behind, not just for the individuals involved, but for society as a whole. Thank you for tuning in to Unadvertised. If you or someone you know has experienced a similar situation, I encourage you to reach out for help. Remember, sharing your story can be a powerful step towards healing. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Deezer, and Player FM. Your feedback helps us grow and bring you even better content. If you would like to reach out and submit your story, email unadvertisedinfo.crime@gmail.com. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We upload every Friday. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and take care of each other. Always remember, you are not alone.